Natalie Simper, and this is The Limitless Musician, a podcast by KE Creative. Our team helps modern musicians find modern solutions to building a sustainable music career. Along with my co-host, Dr. Catherine Eminent, we will help you learn what it takes to build a career that enhances your life instead of restricting it by becoming the limitless musician you are meant to be. Hey friend, welcome to a very special episode of the podcast today. If you've been keeping up with the season, then you know we've been digging pretty deeply into what it means and what it looks like to be authentic in your music career. And this past August, Catherine and I had the pleasure of meeting an unforgettable human being and musician, Gill. If you're a flute player, you may know her as Gill Flutes on socials, where she shares her own journey of navigating a modern music career and all the ups and downs that entails. From her small town in Canada to performing at Carnegie Hall, she has had her fair share of adventures and challenges in building a career that involves teaching, performing in many forms and genres, and also being a social media influencer. I've mentioned in previous episodes that there are so many real life examples of musicians who embrace who they are as both a human and a musician, and Gill definitely fits the bill as a neon standout example of doing just that. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode.
Yippee!
Okay, yay! Okay, so for assistant roll call for today, we have Teef in the studio and also Chewy. They don't really often make appearances. It's usually just me and Grim. So They're like, they know that we've got someone special on today.
This is so special.
Yeah. So I'm so excited for everybody to hear from you. And since I met you back in August, this is literally been one of the highlights of things that I've been looking forward to.
Me too.
Yeah. So you've been kind of all over the place this past month. Not everybody who listens to the podcast is a flute player, but I know that everybody will be able to learn a lot from you today, and just you sharing your story and just sharing your wisdom with us. So tell us a little bit about you, kind of what's the short version of everything that there is about Gill.
Okay, the Spark Notes version, of course. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Gill. I'm a flute player. I currently go to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm studying in pursuit of my master's of music. But way back before I was here, I'm from Canada. I'm a Canadian flute player, and I did the rest of my studies back in Canada. I started the flute in high school in my high school band. So I am a really big advocate now for public music education, and I'm a big champion in that space. But also over COVID, I discovered a new hobby, which was content creation. So I started an Instagram over COVID. I was in my undergrad at that time, and we were all sent home from school, and everyone was like, oh my God, this sucks. All of our concerts were canceled, and it was so sad. So I started an Instagram account to post videos of myself practicing and kind of just stay with it. This is me doing my scales. This is me practicing Peter and the Wolf, all these kinds of things, just to stay connected to both my peers at school, but also musicians from all around the world. And it accidentally kind of became this huge part of my career. So now I work in the content creation space and the social media marketing and management space, on top of being a full-time classical musician who is on the audition circuit and all of that other stuff. So it's been a pretty wild ride, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I bet, that you really didn't anticipate, social media being such a big part of your music career. I think more and more we see those things being put together, but not always intentionally, right?
Huge happy accident. I think that's a Bob Ross quote, like a happy accident. No, it was a huge happy accident for me. Definitely for the first year, I wasn't really trying to do anything with it. It was just something that I really enjoyed. And then as it grew a little more steadily and I was approaching the end of my undergraduate studies, I started to ask myself, oh, like, is there something actually here that I could turn into part of my career? So at that point, I started to take it a little bit more seriously and do things with it. But when I started it, I had no idea that it would be what it is now. Like, the industry is so rapidly changing. And even then, like before COVID, social media was nothing close to what it was now. Like before, it was like, oh, me and my Aunt Sylvia are staying connected, like on Facebook, that kind of thing. And now it's like the biggest marketing space that we have. It's like unbelievable. So I didn't even know then, none of us knew what social media and how, like, what it would be and how it would work in not just our industry, but in industries worldwide. So yeah, huge accident, but one I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, it's interesting how life kind of takes us in
Yeah.
a direction where we need to be, and then we end up
Mhm.
loving it and being like, oh, yes, like this is exactly where I want to be. I couldn't imagine it being any differently. But
Totally.
it's not like, high school Jill was sitting there like, ah, yes, I dream of being this like social media mogul for, and huge advocate for music education, especially because I was like reading up on your life and everything, and
Yeah.
trying to do my research and stuff, and like it's so crazy that you started on trombone. Like it was just kind
Yeah.
of like, it's not like the flute chose you. It was
No.
a different thing.
I'm like so jealous of people that have those stories. One of my good friends, Rachel, her flute story is that she saw it at like 3 or 4. She saw the flute in the movie Cinderella. And I just think that's like the most romantic story. Like you're 3 and you're watching a Disney movie and you see this instrument and you're like, oh, this is going to be my life. Unfortunately, that is not how it went for me. I really wish I had a romantic story like Rachel. But no, in fact, music was not really a part of my life growing up at all. In grade 7 and 8, so middle school, that's when in our public school system we first were handed instruments, and so that is when I was assigned the trombone. We did mouthpiece day where you go and try all the mouthpieces on all the instruments, and whichever one you're like accidentally the best at, you get that instrument.
Yeah.
So apparently I was like a whiz on the trombone mouthpiece, like buzzing, I guess. And so I was given the trombone. I played it for like all of middle school, but then it got to the point where walking back and forth from high school, I didn't actually live on a bus line in our little rural town. So I didn't want to carry that huge thing like all the way home. So I didn't even ask for the flute. I just asked for any instrument that was smaller, like anything smaller, lighter that can fit in my backpack. And the flute is what I ended up with. So
Yeah.
that's how I got my start.
That's so
Yeah,
crazy. Like it's like, it's not just like one little incident. It's like, it's little incidents that kind of add up to lead to this path that you've been
totally.
on. And in this podcast, we talk a lot about how your expectations of what your music career is going to be and how that's going to happen are totally different than the reality of being a classical musician, especially now, with, like you had mentioned, with social media being what it is, and just
Totally.
how different things are now versus they were even 5 years ago. So, you've shared a little bit of how social media found you and how the flute found you. Are there any other like challenges or any kind of pivotal moments in your career that you felt now looking back on them that, wow, that was really that have really contributed to the trajectory that I'm on right now?
I think to talk about that, I have to add another important part of my story, which was that I actually went to my undergraduate studies with the intention of majoring in music education and becoming a high school music teacher. I continue to have such a close relationship with my high school music teachers now. They're like my second parents. I just had Canadian Thanksgiving with them last week. So we have such a close bond even now. They're a huge part of my life. And when I graduated from high school, I was like, I want to be just like them. Of course, I would want to be like them. They were such a huge part of mentoring me as a young person. So I went to university planning to major in music and become a high school music teacher. I took the conducting classes and all those things, and I loved it. But I fell in love with performance while I was there. Coming from a rural town, like not a city, we were kind of far away. We did some band festivals, but there weren't a ton of performance opportunities. So I didn't really know what that world looked like. And then when I got to university and we started doing our master classes and all these other things, and I was getting opportunities to perform, I was like, oh no, like I really like this. And so I made the decision after my first year to major in performance instead of majoring in music education. Now, that has been something that I've grappled with in pretty huge ways throughout my entire career, both as a student and as a musician now. So many times I've asked myself if I made the right decision at 19. Like, did I make the right call going into performance and not teaching? Because I do love teaching. I love it. It's now luckily a big part of my life, but I love it so much. And so many times I was given the advice, don't go into performance if you can see yourself doing literally anything else. Just don't do it. And I could always see myself as being a teacher too. So I have grappled with that a lot of different times over my career and still do kind of on a daily basis. Like, did I make the right call? But because of social media and the world that it kind of accidentally threw me into, I have found a way to now bring teaching into my performance life, which has been a huge pivot and something that I never thought that I would have. I think a really big pivotal moment for me that started the kind of teaching and speaking thing that I have going on right now was, and this is a total ripple effect situation. I had just moved to Toronto. I finished my undergraduate studies in London, Ontario, and I just moved to Toronto that summer. And a student of mine that I had taught maybe one or two lessons to had a gig in the city on a musical called A Perfect Bowl of Pho. And unfortunately, he got COVID on opening night of this musical.
Oh my gosh.
Opening night. And he called me and was like, I need a sub. Like, I don't know what to do. Will you be able to sub for me? I had just moved to the city. And I was like, sure, what do I have to lose? Oh, I will go. Sure. Well, let's see what happens. So I went, and because the COVID quarantine things at that time, that was still 2021 or 2022, he was out for the entire run, which was really sad.
Oh, wow.
It was like 2 weeks. But I ended up staying on with the musical. I fell in love with musical theater, and everyone that I was working with, we made such close bonds. And the conductor for the pit band was still is a high school music teacher. And he brought me in to teach a lecture or give a talk basically about positive mindset a few months after our musical performances. So that was my first time getting into the classroom. And I really resigned myself to the idea that I would never be in the high school music classroom because I chose performance and that was the life I chose for myself. And I kind of surrendered that idea. And yet, because of this random gig that I found myself in, here I was teaching in a high school music classroom for the first time. And that like meant the world to me. And then that led to more opportunities to get into the high school music classroom and give a talk about this, or give a class about this, or give a clinic about so-and-so. And that is still a huge part of my career now. And so that's kind of woven into like the lecture space that I've been able to give, and giving master classes and talks all over the place. And so I've been able to bring my teaching, my love for teaching in the classroom into my performance world. So that was just the pivot that I thought of, because it was I remember saying to myself, this is like a meant to be situation. Like I met this person by total happenstance because somebody got sick and I found myself in this space I was never supposed to be in. And now I'm standing here talking to like 40 kids who were just awesome. And I ended up giving classes 3 or 4 times over the next year at that school. So yeah, that was an example I thought of.
It's crazy because, you know, when we talk with a lot of our coaching clients, like me and Catherine, a lot of clients have similar stories of just how all of these small, seemingly unconnected things they just start piling up, and you know, go from meeting one person to all of a sudden being in the classroom and having that experience to perform in musical theater, and like all of these other things that have come from that. And as a planner, like I am the kind of person who has plans for my plans that have backup plans. So like, but these are kind of things that you can never anticipate or try to create a scenario in which these would play out to get you the same result that you have now. So it's, for sure. I love that you shared that. And also the sentiment that, you know, you never thought that teaching would be a part of what you do, and sort of questioning, you know, that decision that you made, you know, 19-year-old version of Gill made to switch from music education to performance, because, you know, sometimes it's difficult to say those things and admit those things of like, yeah, I love what I do, but I also question what I do sometimes. And if it's exactly in alignment with what I want for myself, for my life, for my career, and all of that. So I thank you so much for like sharing that. It's nice to know, like, I'm not the only one who's like, am I where I'm supposed to be?
Oh, totally. I think we're all struggling with that feeling all the time. I think there's never a destination that you reach. Like there's never a level of success that you reach where you're suddenly like, yes, now I'm secure. Like I think we're always going to feel a little bit wonky about like our life experiences and where we're at. Comparison is like such a huge part of being a musician, unfortunately. And so going through music school and listening to so many different players all the time, there's the part of our brain that is so full of comparison that I think we can't turn off. And I think that is where a lot of that, like, am I where I'm supposed to be at the time that I'm supposed to be there, comes from. Also just like being a young person or being a person, period. We're always like, are we supposed to, what's happening?
Like, what are we doing?
Where are the rules? Like, I don't understand. And I think a lot of that worry that I had when I chose to switch from music education to performance was that it was this world or that world. Like there was never a world that existed where I could combine both of those things. And turns out there is a world where I can combine those things, and also I can combine content creation, and also I can combine like every single thing I've ever wanted to do. So I think that's such an important thing for young musicians to know, or anyone to know who's trying to come into this industry, that there's never one thing that you have to be doing and that's the only thing that you do. Like we're very much hodgepodge career people, I think. Not that that's the most like professional way to put it, but like I think musicians are so skilled at taking all these little things that they love to do and making a career out of it. So you can do everything that you want to do. There's no limits to you have to do this thing, and that means you can't do that thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think that, especially, as musicians are putting their career together, like you said, kind of like, oh, I like a little bit of this, I like a little bit of that, right? I think many of us compartmentalize and say, well, I either, as you mentioned, like I either have to do music education or performance. There isn't a scenario in which these can coexist. But as a person, like we're so multifaceted, there's so many parts that make up our identity, our personality, our interests, ambitions, and all of that stuff. So how has your experience been in trying to, kind of service all of those parts of yourself in a way that also feels like, not only are you creating a fulfilling career and connecting with others through what all the various things that you do, but also like how can you do that and also feed Gill, the human, not Gill, the social media influencer, the soloist, the international artist, and so on.
Totally. Huge question. And it's something that I'm still figuring out. And I feel that I will continue to figure it out for the rest of my life, because as your life changes and your interests change, the amount of time that you have available changes, and like so many things change. Our industry also continues to change all the time. So I think that's something I'll have to figure out over and over again over the course of my life, which is pretty fun. Let's face it. For me, it's like I'm at an interesting point right now where I'm on the cusp of finishing my last degree for now. Okay. If you're listening to this and I promised you that I do a DMA, I will, just I won't right now. So I'm really on the edge after I did my undergraduate and then I did a 2-year artist diploma. And now I'm just about to finish in May my 2-year master's and then be out floating in the world, like wondering what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm in an interesting place right now. I'm on the edge of something, although I don't quite know what that something is yet. But as I've gotten more and more on the edge of whatever that thing is, and I've been transitioning more out of being a student and into being a working person and working human, and discovering what I really love to do without somebody telling me where I need to be and what class I need to be in and what I have to do next week. Like I'm going to lose basically all the structure that is built in with being a student. And I'm pretty excited about it. But before I was really scared, now I'm excited. But as social media has taken off for me more and more over the past few years, I've found it really difficult to balance being a student, being a teacher, being a content creator, and also like being a musician, like that point of being a musician. I think so much of the creativity has gotten lost for me when I'm really overwhelmed with like many tasks. The creativity is the first thing to go. Like the artistry is the first thing to go. I tend to prioritize in my practice, like, okay, I have 10 minutes to learn all the correct notes and rhythms. Dun, da, 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 now I'm done. And I lose the joy of creating. So it's something that I have really struggled with as the career takes off and off. I had the very unfortunate realization this year that I spend more time doing emails than I do practicing. And I practice a lot. So that has to tell
That's a lot of emails.
that, like administrative tasks have kind of taken over my entire life, which is frustrating and annoying, but also like a really important part of marketing yourself and growing as an entrepreneur. Like you need to be able to do all of those things. The older I get, and like the older I get, the more things there are to do. I think that's just going to be something that's true forever, unfortunately. But I've learned that there is really no harm in taking a shortcut, especially when it comes to administrative tasks. I'm always someone that's gone 110% for everything all the time. And I figured out that you cannot be 110% in every single area of your life at every single moment in time. It's just not possible. And my artistry and musicianship and creativity was suffering because I have been experiencing so much burnout in other areas. I did not realize that until I went to Europe this summer to study. And I was in the south of France, and everyone was walking the slowest anyone has ever walked in the entire world. And you would go to get a coffee, and there's not an option to do takeout. Like, you have to sit there and you must enjoy yourself. Like, you have no option but to sit there and be slow and enjoy yourself. And at first this was really frustrating to me. And then I was like, oh, so this is what humanity is like. Oh, I didn't even know. So that has helped me really reconnect with my creativity and my humanness and my spontaneity. Like, when your life is so planned, which I'm sure you struggle with the same thing. When your life is so planned, there is no room to be spontaneous. And that can be really limiting, I feel like, for me anyways. So I have been prioritizing more, allowing myself that space to be creative and be the artist that I know I am, and the artist that I need to still discover within myself. And if that means that, like, I don't get back to so-and-so right away. I mean, like, do your emails on time. Okay. Get back to people in a timely fashion, but it doesn't have to be within 4 minutes. Like, you don't have to be the most reachable person on the planet. The world will not end. It will not end. I set really strong boundaries with my administrative tasks now, where it's like, I don't do them on the weekend. I don't do them after 10 o'clock, those kinds of things. I'm hoping to be less and less reachable. I hope this is good advice, but truly, I'm trying to be less reachable, because I really found that I lost myself in the giving of like all of my time all the time. And so, just from the perspective of a musician, I personally need that time to be free and be loose with myself and discover things and experiment in the practice room. And when I'm so short on time and everything is so regimented, which it is for really all of us in this day and age, I lose that. So that has been the biggest endeavor for me recently, since getting back from Europe, asking myself, okay, how can I prioritize my artistry first and everything else second, while still, like, being a good person, like being generous with my time and energy, because that's a huge value of mine. I'm not saying to be completely selfish and never give of yourself. Like, that is not very nice. And like, it's a huge value for me personally to be able to have the energy that I can give to other people. It's so important. So I prioritize that very heavily as well. And what sucks that energy out of me, what like takes that away so that I can't give it where I want to give it? For me, a lot of that is administrative tasks. Okay, how can I do that faster? Schedule send, like, do this, do that. Like, there are 100 shortcuts for you to be able to do that. So prioritizing what actually matters to me, what gives me energy, what fills my cup. And you're always going to have to do things you don't want to do. Like, that's sorry, you're a person, like, in the real world, you have to do stuff you don't want to do. So the stuff that you don't want to do, if it is really like sucking of your energy, find a way for it to take less of your energy. That's not always possible, but I've been experimenting with finding new ways to make that possible for me, so that I feel a little bit liberated, or a little bit more liberated, I should say, in just the freedom of artistry and choice and musicianship and all of that stuff. But still something I'm figuring out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Oh, there are so many things that you said that I could just like literally, we could just make like, a whole podcast season for like the rest of the year. Like, it's incredible just how many insights you have that I feel really personally connected to, where I'm
Aw.
like, I feel seen, but
Yeah,
also that,
totally.
I think is important for musicians to understand. Something that I want to highlight is, your need for creativity, to the need for that spontaneity that, as we said earlier, it's, you can plan and plan and plan. But even within structure, we need the organic, the organic situations to come up, these things that make us feel like we can enjoy the life that we're living,
Yeah,
instead of just always feeling like we're on the grind. And it's like, I am this vessel to the higher classical musician gods, but it's like,
literally.
no, I'm a person with needs and wants and
Yeah.
other things that fuel me and that also need my time. And that
Mhm.
when you can prioritize setting up a structure that can allow you to spend more time on that creativity rather than the things that suck the energy, like,
Yeah.
like administrative tasks or all the other mundane things that we'd rather not do as musicians,
Yeah.
then you can be more giving of your time. Something that I read in your interview with Close Up Culture
Oh,
was,
yeah.
was that music is meant to be shared. It's meant to be shared with others. And that's something that I think, gets lost when we're in a classical music degree and we're stuck in a practice room all day,
Totally.
like it's a very social, personal, human thing to be
Oh, yeah.
involved with music, even when it's our career. And like, we have to find a way to make an income and also do all of the other non-musician tasks and skills that we have to build up, because classical musicians, we have to just be entrepreneurs and kind of know what we don't know we need to know.
So true.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed that quote from that interview about, just like we've got to be connected through music.
Yeah, I'm so glad. No, it's so true. And I think that's one of the huge reasons I even started my Instagram in the first place, was that unfortunate position that COVID put us in, which was that we were totally isolated, and all these things that we're practicing for, we really cannot share them with other people. And that's where social media really came to be a savior in that moment. Like, oh, yes, you can video, record, bonk, post it. Like, now you've shared it, right? And that's why it's something I've really continued to make a big part of my career. It's why I continue to prioritize social media so much, because there's so much connection that we're able to gain from it. We're very lucky. I mean, there's a lot that like technology and how it's advancing takes from us as humans. It's, we're living in a seriously crazy time. But at the same time, like, I always say this, I now, as a 25-year-old young adult, can on my cellular device message the principal piccolo of the Berlin Philharmonic and say like, hey, I have a question about XYZ thing. For some reason, I'm getting a lot of spit like when I'm playing in the high register on my piccolo. What do I do about that? And he can answer. That's unreal. Like, that is an education that we have never had access to. Like, there's an equalizing part of social media where we're all on the same platform. No matter where you are in your career, how successful you are, you have access to literally everybody. And I think that's another reason I love social media so much, is because it makes things that were never accessible before so accessible to everybody who has access to a cell phone, which is mostly everybody in the US and in Canada. So it is so awesome, like so awesome. So that connection piece that you were just mentioning is also really amplified through social media that we have now. I think we're very lucky to be able to share music in that way as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And with social media, there's always that silver lining of, you only know what people present, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
so and so I think it's a wonderful thing that, like you said, it can connect people that you never could have imagined that would be accessible for you. So for you, it's the musician at the Berlin Phil. For me, it's you, because like I remember coming across your page and like thinking, oh my goodness, like you come up with your own notion of how people are, and as humans and as professionals when you live in social media land, right? And one of the things that struck me when I met you in person finally, well, first I was like a little starstruck because I was like, oh my gosh, she's in the same room and she came to our session. But also when you were talking about your journey with social media, the fact that you're like, I'm an introvert, and I'm also an introvert. And so seeing that, the people that we often put up on pedestals, we kind of, we create all of these ideas about them, and we're all really just human. We all have our questions, we all have our doubts, and we're all shooting for the same goal, but in wildly different ways of just like, how can I live a happy life? How can I stay true to myself while also, giving of myself and doing the things that really make me feel alive. So I really appreciate you sharing, not just like the wonderful things that have come from, this happy little accident of incidents in your career, but also the things that, that still have question marks around them. And,
Totally.
the fact that you said, I'm probably never, ever going to figure this out. Like I'm constantly going to be figuring it out. And I think that's something that's so important for classical musicians to hear, because we're trained like, okay, if you practice X amount of hours, or if you focus on this one thing, then you're going to master your instrument. Then you're going to master this piece of repertoire. Then you'll be ready for X, Y, Z part of your career to take off. And it's just not that way.
There is no arrival station is what I'm really figuring out. And even for people who, like some of the musicians I studied with this summer when I was in Europe, they're my pedestal people. Like I totally worship the ground they walk on. It's like, you can do no wrong. Like everything you've ever done. I'm like, yes, you're amazing. Like that kind of thing. And in getting to know them this summer, so many of them expressed similar doubts. I was like, what? Like you're so-and-so and you too worry about your career? Like, what? Are you kidding me? One of them had just put out a new single, and this particular individual is my complete and total role model. Like literally can do no wrong. Like I'm incredible. Everything I want to be. If I'm half the musician and half the person that this individual is, I will die happy. I think we all have that person. Mm-hmm. They are my person. They had this new single come out, and I said, oh my gosh, I listened to the single. Like, it's incredible. It's the best playing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, wow, it's just unbelievable. Did you enjoy recording it? Like, was that an enjoyable process? And they said to me, no, I absolutely hated it. When I record, I listen back, I hate everything I'm doing. I think it sounds terrible. Like, it's just so awful. And I was like, what? Like, you struggle with the same things I struggle with? Like, it was such a mind-blowing moment for me, because I'm listening to this recording that I think is literally like liquid gold. Like, this is the greatest thing that's ever existed, ever. And the person behind it is like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, I have doubts about it. I don't really like the musical decisions I made. That was so eye-opening to me, because this person is what I imagined what had reached the arrival station that we were talking about. And then this really showed me like, oh, great, that actually doesn't exist. Like, no matter where we're at in the spectrum of our life and our career, like we really will never have made it. And you can look at that like it's something that's really depressing. Like, oh, no matter what I do, I'll never be the greatest musician and I'll never have mastered absolutely everything. Or you can look at that like the awesomest challenge ever. Like, you mean that my work that I love so much that has become the biggest part of me is never going to be done. That's epic. I just get to keep doing this forever. Like, are you kidding? That's so awesome. But it's so easy to get wrapped up in the I'll never actually have this all figured out thing. I don't even think that's just a musician problem. I think that's just a human problem, in that it's all of our first time going through life, unless you like believe in reincarnation, but I don't really know much about that. So it's pretty much all of our first time going through life. There's no rule book and there's no handbook. So, and there's also no like determining factor on when we've finished our life's work or not, or when we've like totally finally figured it all out and now everything's going to be fine and dandy and perfect. Like, there's no way to ever reach that. And I think that is the most special part about like being alive and being a musician. Like, it's never done. There's always more to do, which I think is just so exciting if you choose to look at it that way.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. It's, you know, it's all about your perspective. Because like you said, it can be all just like Debbie Downer, like, oh my gosh, like nothing's ever going to get better, or nothing's ever going to get done. But changing your perspective is really, I have found in my first try at life that, but it's always been the game changer for me. And what I've seen when other people share their experiences, that, you know, you can look at it one way, or you can just take a couple steps to the left or to the right and see it in a completely different way. And sometimes you can't do that alone, right? Like sometimes sometimes it takes a teacher saying, hey, I think this could really happen for you. Or it takes chance encounters and happening to be in what feels like, you know, the right place and the right time. Something I definitely want to ask you about for our listeners is that a lot of the opportunities that you've had in being connected with people through social media, you know, haven't just been waiting there with a perfect little bow for you to take, right? Like, it's not like people are like, oh yes, you can have all of this. Here's your perfect career waiting. So what has been your experience in like seeking out those opportunities? And because I know we've talked a little bit about like specific opportunities where you're like, I didn't wait for someone to hand it to me. I asked for it, and there's no harm in asking. So I love for you to talk a little bit more about that.
Totally. That's something that I figured out kind of in the latter part of my undergraduate degree. And then when I was working on my artist diploma at the Glenn Gould School in Toronto, I was lucky enough in my senior year of undergrad to take a class called the 21st Century Musician. And it was taught by Sharon Way at the time. I actually just got to come back and give a lecture to that class on Thursday, which was so exciting. I took that class only 3 years ago, so it was just so cool to be back in that room. But that class was all about being an entrepreneur as a musician in the 21st century. It was an incredible class. And I think a lot of music schools are now jumping on the bandwagon, but historically, they haven't really taught a lot about how to generate your own opportunities. We kind of just have the idea that, yes, I will practice all these hours, and then when I'm done, I will have a job. It's like, okay, I wish it was like that. I'd be sitting in my cushy job right now. But that's unfortunately just not how it works. And this class, we learned how to write grants. And one of the big projects was to kind of dream up this concert that you're going to invent for yourself and then do it. I really wanted to perform Voliere. No one imagine wanting to perform Voliere. That was back when. But I really, really wanted to perform that in Carnival of the Animals. And I had been asking, and they unfortunately did not program that in the orchestra, which I understand because it's a chamber piece and it wouldn't really make sense for all of the students. So I decided I'm going to put together a group and we're just going to perform this. We booked out the theater. We did the whole thing. We had programs. We had an audience. It was this whole thing. And I learned how to do that through this class. Again, very lucky to have had that class. It was really inspirational. And that really got me thinking, okay, if I ever feel like I don't have enough to do, I'm going to invent myself something to do, which is what we really need to be doing as classical musicians in this day and age. So when social media came around, I decided I wanted to start doing something with it. I saw Katie Flute. She was working with Flute Center. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I wish I was Katie Flute. And then I was like, oh, what if I also did that? So I got my first brand deal with Soundbrenner, the metronome company, which they're so awesome, amazing company. So I got my first brand deal with them at just under, I think, 10,000 followers. And I got that brand deal through reaching out to them and asking if they might want to collaborate. Same thing with the Flute Center. That was a big contract. That was like a 5-year contract that I signed really shortly after, only about a year and a half after I started social media. And it was born because I sent a DM to the Flute Center Instagram account because I really wanted to work with them. I was like, this is so awesome. This is my dream. Like, I've seen other creators working with them and they're just so epic. And I would love to collaborate with them and really start on my social media career and kind of get in that space. So I sent a DM and I said, hi, I'm Gill. I love your company. I love what you do. I'd love to maybe hop on a call and talk about collaborating. And that led to that 5-year contract to work with the Flute Center. And that's how most of my brand deals have come along. Now that I'm in this space, sometimes I do get emails where they're initiated by the company or their marketing firm. But a lot of my opportunities at the very beginning, and even now, if there's someone I really want to work with, I always reach out first. Basically, the worst thing that can happen is, well, one, they might not answer, in which case you can send a follow-up 4 or 5 times, really, if you like as many follow-ups as you need to send. And then they might say no, which is like totally fine. Like, you literally did not lose anything from that experience. You're maybe like a little bit like, oh, darn, but that's it. At least you tried and you're starting to identify people and brands that you might want to collaborate with as a content creator. The same thing has applied for me in my career as a freelancer. Once I moved to Toronto and I really wanted to start working as a freelancer, I was like, well, nobody knows I'm here, so I better alert the media and send an email to every single orchestra within like, a 30-minute to an hour drive with some tapes and my resume and my dates of availability for this entire season. Like, hello, I would love to play with you. I'm a student at so-and-so place. And that is what started my freelancing career in Toronto. That is what led me to play with the Niagara Symphony for the first time. I also met the conductor through my school. And that's the orchestra that I just played Mozart's Concerto in G with. So that kind of started that opportunity. I met also the principal flute at the time of the Peterborough Symphony Orchestra, and then kind of got in there through social media. And now I'm playing Mozart's Concerto in G with them in April. So all of these little tiny things, just like we were talking about before, eventually grow to this other thing, which is amazing. But I don't think any of those things would have come if I wasn't actively seeking them out all the time. It's something that I think we miss as young musicians, like how important that is. Emails all the time. I know I was saying earlier, I don't like them. I don't like them. Okay. You still have to do it. Like, have your resume ready, be ready to send it out to personnel managers, take lessons with, principal flutes, where you would like to maybe sub in their orchestra. That's another great way to do that. But they all really need to be initiated by you at the beginning. And that's kind of exciting. You can choose where you might want to go and put the feelers out and say, I'm really enthusiastic about this. I would love to do this. Can I do it? No harm, I think, has ever come from asking to do a thing, because you might get lucky. They might say yes. And then, whoa, now you have a huge opportunity. It's the same thing with, oh, I'd really love to perform, so-and-so concerto, but all the orchestras are really booked up this season. Oh, what should I do? Find an orchestra. Like, literally make one, maybe with alum from the school you went to. Find a church, somebody really nice who's willing to let you use a church for free. Like, there's so many ways to generate opportunities for yourself on social media and off social media. So I think whatever we can say to push other musicians to start doing that, like start doing it right away. Don't be afraid of disappointment, because if you're sitting at home on a Friday night, with nothing to do because you didn't put any feelers out, that would feel pretty disappointing, wouldn't it? Like, I think it's so much better to get a no, not this season, but now they have your email and they know who you are, rather than to have never established any connection at all. And also you learn how to market through doing that, like through trial and error, through reaching out to so-and-so. Okay, maybe they're not interested. I wonder why. Is there a way I could tweak my email, tweak my pitch, tweak my resume, send out different tapes, all different kinds of things. I think it's really fun to do. So yeah, start generating opportunities for yourself right away. And then opportunities will come from those.
Yeah, totally. Something that I tell my private students all the time, like when they have like a chair test or when they have some kind of audition with their band director, the first question I'll ask after I'm like, how did it go? Like, how do you feel about it? Is, did your teacher give you any feedback? And then if they say no, I say, did you ask for it? And they're like, oh, well, no, I don't know, like, because they're terrified of what the answer might be. And, it's scary. Like, yeah, totally. And it's like, you could receive some criticism, like feedback on, this didn't go so well, or this could be better. Right. But I'm like, but then, right. Yeah. And I love that you said, there's no harm in following up like 5, 10, 15 times, however, as many as it takes, because there is that fear of like, what if they don't answer? What if they do answer and it's a no? What if they answer and they're all of a sudden just randomly offended because I like dropped into their inbox, like we create kind of catastrophize like these kind of situations, but it can be as simple as sending the email or asking the question, sending the DM. It doesn't have to look perfectly polished every single time you present an offer, or, the desire even just to collaborate or to do something in a way that's going to connect you with people who can benefit from your expertise and just your style and, all the things that make you uniquely you, but also how you can benefit and grow and kind of feed that desire for creativity, especially if you don't have those opportunities right now. Like you said, there's no harm. Like you're not going to lose anything because it's not there, right? But we've got to start, but we've got to start somewhere, right? We don't start with like, the perfectly packaged deal. We start with the little crumbs that eventually build into something so much bigger. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with all of that.
Of course.
Yes. So, I definitely, I've totally appreciated everything that you've said. I literally could like go on and on forever, just picking your brain and asking you questions. If there's anything that you want to leave, like any kind of tidbit or just a final parting insight for the listeners, what would that be?
When I was thinking about this earlier, what I would say, when I gave a lecture and we did kind of a Q&A last week at my alma mater, one of the students during the Q&A asked, what is one piece of advice you would share to all young musicians of the world? I was like, whoa, way to put me in the hot seat. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I definitely don't have all the answers. The first thing I said was do your scales, which I think is an epic piece of advice that I ignored myself as a young musician. And I'm really, really like suffering now because I didn't do them earlier. So do your scales and practice with a tuner. That's what I said first. I think now if I would give any insight to leave everyone with, it might seem generic, but it really is the one that's the heaviest on my heart, is be a kind, good person and go out of your way to share that with the world. I think we do that all the time as musicians. Like really, I think as musicians, we work in public service, like quite honestly. we often don't consider it that way. But, part of it is, to go on stage and I get my applause and then I feel all nice about myself. But, the majority of it is so that we can serve the audience and serve in that way the world. That is why we do this. It's a very, very other-centered art, even though because we spend so much time practicing, it can feel kind of self-centered sometimes. It actually is very other-centered. And that is our life's work, which is sharing music with the world. And in that same breath, I would say to make sure that you're also like nourishing the way that we work on our music, like also work on yourself and be a kind and good and generous person and share that with the world like you share your music. I think that's what I would say. Hopefully that's good.
Yeah. You said it perfectly. Thank you so much. Yes. A+.
Get my gold star.
Yes. I'll send it in the mail.
Yeah.
All righty. I would love to do a little bit of like a lightning round, like rapid fire questions. So like super short answers just to, kind of give us a quick little insights into the brain of Gill.
Totally.
What is one thing that you can't live without?
I will say my Shakti mat. It's like, I've talked about this on my page before, but it's an acupressure mat, similar to a yoga mat that you lay on. And I cannot live without it. It's so a part of my routine. It keeps my whole body and mind in check. Could not live without it. Also, like coffee.
Yeah. Also, yes.
Yeah.
If you could do anything for a day, what would you do?
I think I would probably go hiking or maybe a little like beach day. If I could teleport, I think I would do a little beach day in the south of France for one day. That would be my perfect day. Yeah.
Yes. My perfect day often involves a beach as well.
Yeah. It's a good one.
What is a recent like book or podcast that you think that everybody should take a listen or take a read to?
I think book recently, I've been working through this one. It's called How to Love Better by Young Pueblo. I purchased this because I thought that the whole thing was like, okay, how can you be a better person to others? But I'm discovering that it's actually how to be a better person to yourself so that you can be a better person to others. It's really taught me a lot, but in a musician space, it's taught me a lot about like inner peace. Like no matter what happens on stage today, I'm still me.
Yeah.
Yes. Like it's been so helpful in building my self-confidence and self-value, which is something that as musicians, I think we really lose. So that has been a great book. And then also I'm learning French, and the Duolingo French podcast has been a lifesaver. I don't know if you know that they do those, but they have podcasts for the languages. Life-changing.
That is so awesome.
Language, Duolingo podcast.
So my family is from Guatemala, and like, awesome. We always keep track of the Guatemalan actors and yes. Famous Guatemalans. Duolingo was created by a Guatemalan.
Period.
Yeah. That's so I'm amazing. Like country pride.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. I've loved being able to just sit and talk with you. And I just there are so many things that you said that not just for that I think are important for classical musicians to hear. But I was like, wow, I'm just in a master class right now. I'm learning so much, just eating it all up, taking it in. And so I know I'll be thinking about a lot of what we've talked about, beyond this episode. So thank you so
glad.
much.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun. I've been looking forward to this since we met at NFA. So I'm really glad to do it.
Yay. Well, I'm glad that we could do it too. And now that you've had your whirlwind month of presenting and performing. So I'm glad that you can take it a little easy, quote unquote, much as you can being in school.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. right. Well, thanks, Jill. I'll catch up with you later.
Thank you.
Bye. If you enjoyed getting to know Jill in this episode, you can follow her on Instagram and YouTube, and you can also subscribe to her Substack called The Practice Room, where she shares her journey on being a college musician, educator, lecturer, and soloist, sometimes all at the same time. Links will be in the show notes description. That's all for today's episode on The Limitless Musician. If you liked this episode, follow us on Instagram at The Limitless Musician to tell us what you want to hear next. Remember to subscribe to our newsletter to get exclusive content that won't show up anywhere else by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time.